Tyrese Haliburton is statistically having one of the most impressive seasons we have ever seen out of a point guard. Through 30 games, he's averaging 24.9 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and 12.7 assists per game on 50.1, 40.8, 86.3 splits, and a 63.7 true shooting percentage, as the engine of the best offense in the NBA. Haliburton has showcased dominant playmaking ability in both the half-court and transition. However, what he's done to the Milwaukee Bucks in particular has really stood out, because he has completely exposed the biggest flaw with that team, which is noteworthy because the Bucks are a title contender. But quickly, before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I'd really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways can help me out in the YouTube algorithm, help support the channel, and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Anyways, let's talk about Tyrese Haliburton. The Pacers have faced the Bucks 5 times this season, which is a lot considering we're only 4 days into the new year. In fact, they haven't faced another opponent more than twice up to this point in the season, which makes the fact that they faced the Bucks 5 times feel like they played against the Bucks about 30 to 40 times already. In those 5 games, Haliburton is averaging 27 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, and 11 assists per game on 53.2, 37.5, 90.9 splits, and a 65.1 true shooting percentage. The Pacers are 4-1 in those 5 games. Haliburton is shooting at least 50% from the field in all of those games, and he also has an absurd 7.86 assist to turnover ratio in those games. What has stood out is Haliburton's finishing ability in these games. He's shooting 76.2% at the rim on 4.2 attempts per game. Haliburton against the Bucks is in the 98th percentile in terms of rim efficiency. Now, overall, he's not a bad finisher at the rim. In fact, I would say it's an area he's improved at a lot, especially on the ball. But his rim finishing numbers jump by 12.8% when he plays against the Bucks, compared to when he faces off against the rest of the NBA. And what really has been exposed is the fact the Bucks defense is incredibly flawed because of how bad Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley are on defense. We understood the trade-off of replacing Holiday with Lillard, but Malik Beasley being the primary point of attack defender is less than ideal, to put it nicely, and Haliburton has made that very evident. He consistently has been able to beat the Bucks guards off the bounce and get downhill. On top of that, the Pacers have a floor spacer in Miles Turner at the 5 that can draw Brook Lopez out of the paint, and Brook Lopez being in the paint is an integral part of what is supposed to make the Bucks defense so effective. And it really is just a recipe for disaster for the Milwaukee Bucks. Haliburton has been able to leverage his 3-point shooting and playmaking ability to attack the basket more, and it has led to very efficient results. And even though maybe he's not shooting 40+% from 3 like he is against the rest of the NBA, the fact that he's that much of a threat as a shooter and that much of a threat as a playmaker makes it so he gets more opportunities that are easier attacking the basket, and that has really opened up his game, and it's why the Bucks have struggled to beat the Pacers. The other way Haliburton was able to beat the Bucks has been his playmaking, because he's grown into such a great scoring threat. He's able to leverage that to create advantages for his teammates. He definitely makes advanced reads and can manipulate defense. I don't agree with this idea that he's completely a product of a system. I think the system is one that would elevate any high-level playmaker, but to average 12+ assists per game takes being a great playmaker. It's not just something you could put anyone into a system and be great. Do I think guys like LaMelo Ball could also put up that many assists if he was in that system? I do. I also don't think that should take away from what Haliburton does. Just because another great playmaker is able to maybe have similar production in that same system doesn't mean Haliburton isn't a great playmaker in his own right, because he is. Just because it doesn't look the most conventional, just because he works a bit more off ball than a lot of other playmakers do, doesn't mean that he also isn't a great playmaker. He has the vision, he's a super high field player, he's somebody that makes those around him better. It reminds me a bit of the Harden discourse when Mike D'Antoni became the head coach, where initially the assist production is a product of the system, but the reps within that system help the player grow as a playmaker, to the point where even after D'Antoni left, Harden was still able to be a double-digit assist per game player. And I think Haliburton is showing that he's developing to the point where in a few years if Rick Carlisle leaves and there's a whole new system, he could still be a 10 plus assist per game player while still being highly productive as a scorer. And honestly, I think if you compare a 23-year-old Haliburton to a 23-year-old Harden, I would say that Haliburton is the superior playmaker at the same age. And the ability to make the simple play and the advanced play is something that's very valuable. Haliburton has mastered both, which is why he's such a highly productive and efficient playmaker. What he did as a playmaker in the games against the Bucks reminds me a lot of what I talked about with Luka Doncic in his game against the Suns, which is the ability to make those advanced reads, but not as many advanced reads as you would expect in these games. But it's not because he can't do it, it's because he doesn't have to do it. It's because of the fact that his scoring gravity is already indirectly manipulating the defense, so he doesn't have to directly manipulate the defense as much. And because of the scoring gravity, it's just made life so much easier for Haliburton, and he's taken full advantage of it. And sure, he is making basic reads, but those basic reads are reads that are created by his scoring gravity. And that to me is just as impressive as being able to manipulate the defense directly as a playmaker. And I think an underrated aspect of playmaking in general is how you can indirectly manipulate a defense just based off how good of a scorer you are. And the development of Haliburton is something that has made him that player. He wasn't that entering the NBA, but the growth as an on-ball creator has made that skill in his game something very valuable. Tyrese Haliburton exposed a major flaw with the Bucks, and that's the fact that their guards can't defend, and it's completely detrimental to how the Bucks want to run their defense. And that's a red flag for a team that claims to have a big defensive identity. The only reason the Bucks even had a chance is because Giannis went supernova in 2 of those games and was really good overall. And even then, he scored 54 points and they still lost to the Pacers. And also the fact that they had a chance because the Pacers aren't a good defense. What Haliburton has done raises the question: if the Bucks can't handle a team that has good guards and also is a bad defensive team, how are they going to fare against teams with good guards and are also a good defensive team, like the Celtics, Sixers, OKC, Denver, and Minnesota? The Bucks want to win the title this season, and they're going to have to likely face teams like that if they want to win it all. And even though I would still favor the Bucks in a playoff series because they are just a much more battle-tested team, basically everyone in that starting 5, including Malik Beasley, has played in a conference finals at some point in their career. I do think Indiana would give them a run for their money because Haliburton not only has their number, but his game also translates to the playoffs really well because he's an elite playmaker that can score on all 3 levels. Tyrese Haliburton is only 23 years old and he's already exposing a title contender, which makes the idea of how good this Pacers team can be in the future so interesting. They aren't perfect right now, their defense needs a lot of work. But if the Pacers go all in, make moves with more defenders, maybe a legit second option. I don't think they have one right now, while also keeping the spacing around Haliburton. On top of that, Haliburton just getting better. He's still really young, so the fact that he's going to likely get better adds to this. If the Pacers build around Tyrese Haliburton correctly, they won't just be a problem for the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to be a problem for the rest of the NBA. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notifications so I'm notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways to help me out in the YouTube algorithm, help support the channel, and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Let me know what you think about Tyrese Haliburton. Let me know what you think about the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll do all that down below. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.